It all started when I was in the 6th grade. I became very sick, and my mother had heard about the Harry Potter books on the news, and bought the first one for me to read while I got better. I was skeptical at first, but I was soon drawn in. I started keeping track of how many times I read the book, but stopped counting after I hit the 15 mark. I received the second book for my 12th birthday. I devoured it, and I bought the third one myself with my birthday money. My grandmother always nurtured my love of reading, and decided to read the books herself to see what all the fuss was about. She loved them as much as I did, and it became our ritual to have tea parties and talk about what might happen next. It was July of 2000, the summer before my 7th grade year, when the fourth book came out. I dressed up and went to the bookstore with my mother, my grandmother, and my cousin Paul, who I had converted into a Harry Potter lover. We stayed up until midnight with about 50 other people who were just as excited as we were. I have loved reading my whole life, but it was with these books that I first started thinking about English as a subject, and how I would one day want to teach others about the power of the written word. It wasn't long before Harry Potter became a national phenomenon, with all kinds of fun merchandise, including my favorite tea-drinking mug, and the t-shirt that I would one day wear to my college orientation for comfort. On June 21st, 2003, my cousin and I were just finishing our freshman year of high school, but we dressed up just the same and went with our grandmother to the same bookstore where we had purchased the last book. The celebration had grown quite a lot. Well over 300 people were there, watching the clock for midnight. 2 years later, in July of 2005, the line for the book stretched out the door of the bookstore, and police officers were regulating how many people could enter to avoid going over the fire code's capacity for the building. Harry Potter had come to me like an old friend that I was growing up with, something to look forward to, because no matter what was happening in the real world, there was nothing but excitement and hope in every sequel. During March of 2006, my senior year of high school, my grandmother was admitted into the hospital. She always had a Harry Potter book on her nightstand whenever I went to visit her. When she passed away in April, Harry Potter was quoted in her eulogy. "It is our choices that make us who we are, far more than our abilities." In July of 2007, my cousin and I somberly got ready to go to the bookstore for the release of the 7th and final installment of the Harry Potter series, for the first time without our grandmother. Fresh from our first year of college, we joined well over 1,000 people crowded outside the same bookstore that we had waited among 50 with 7 years earlier. When we finally received our copies, it was bittersweet. It felt like the ultimate act of growing up. Our childhoods had nearly mirrored Harry's in our ages. To think that after all the tough times when we read for comfort, all the happy times when we would joke and wonder what would happen next, and all the sad times when we would wonder how it could ever end well, we would know in a matter of hours.